Generally speaking, there are two classifications for sentence correction errors. There are issues that, if they exist, the sentence is just dead wrong. For example, a correct answer choice will never have issues with pronoun errors or problems with subject-verb agreement or misplaced modifiers. The second classification of rules has to do with things that are just preferred in a sentence. So issues with brevity, redundancy, changed meaning in the passive voice can be used as tiebreakers between two otherwise grammatically correct answer choices. One of the golden rules of sentence correction is a shorter sentence is usually better. Accordingly, you want to avoid words that are unnecessary, especially words that are redundant. So in this sentence we say in the past followed by previously, which essentially has the same meaning as in the past. So the word previously is redundant and should simply be crossed out. This sentence also has issues with redundancy, although it may not be as obvious as the previous sentence. Here we have an increase in exports that are sold to China. Well, exports are obviously sold, so to make the sentence shorter, we could simply cross out that are sold, and then the phrase exports to China is shorter and still retains the same meaning. While it's not true 100% of the time, the vast majority of answer choices with the word being are incorrect. The reason is being is usually considered a garbage word, meaning it makes a sentence longer without clarifying or enhancing the sentence. So, continuing the idea that a shorter sentence is usually better, you can see that we could actually cross out the two words, their being, and the sentence would still maintain its original meaning. Many of his colleagues were convinced of life on other planets sounds totally fine, and it's shorter than before. One of the hardest errors to catch is when an answer choice subtly changes the original meaning of the sentence. For example, these two sentences are totally, perfectly, grammatically correct. However, the first sentence says to make small cars more fuel efficient. But the second sentence subtly changes the meaning by saying more efficient small cars. So the first sentence wants to take small cars that already exist and make them more fuel efficient, while the second sentence wants to take the efficient small cars you already have and just make more of them. Unless the original sentence is completely illogical, you cannot accidentally or subtly change the original meaning of the sentence. So although the second sentence is grammatically correct, you would cross it out because it changes the meaning. You'll remember from our subject-verb agreement video that the subject in the sentence is the one doing the verb, and the object is the one receiving the verb. So in my top sentence I have Regan, that's me, and I am the subject. My verb is ate, or I'm eating, and the noun that is receiving my eating is the pizza. This order of subject, verb, object, where the subject and verb are placed in the sentence before the object, that is called the active voice. In the second sentence, the order is flipped. I'm Regan and I'm still doing the eating, so since Regan is doing the verb, I'm considered the subject. Eaten is obviously the verb, and the noun receiving my eating is still the pizza. When the object comes before the subject in the sentence, that is called the passive voice. And while the second sentence is not grammatically wrong, the passive voice is generally not preferred. Almost always, the passive voice is signified by the word by. So if you see the word by, you could put it in the same category as the word being, meaning that while it's not wrong 100% of the time, 9 times out of 10, or at least the vast majority of the time, you want to avoid the word by because it signifies the passive voice. So while the sentence, the pizza was eaten by Regan, may seem naturally awkward to you, when the passive voice is in a larger sentence, it becomes a little bit more difficult to spot, but we can still recognize it by the simple word by. In this sentence we have the verb, that's shared. The noun doing the sharing is the group, so that's the subject, and the thing that is being shared are the problems, so that's our object. You don't have to get that detailed. Again, we can simply avoid the answer that uses the word by, or we could simply choose the shorter choice.